This week, I'm interviewing David Theriot. When I first was getting into the trail running scene, I kept seeing a few names come up over and over and over again, and David was one of them. And for good reason. He's an incredible athlete. He has a popular ultra running podcast with well over 100 episodes, Run the Riot, in case you didn't know, and he has been doing this trail and ultra thing for almost a decade. In that time, he has learned a ton. And for this episode, David and I dive into everything from nutrition to training to mental strategies, everything you really might need to help you get better on the trail. And it's just a great conversation. There are some people you talk to and conversation just happens, and David's one of those people. We start talking and suddenly it's an hour later, and it was just a fun interview to do. Quick note before we get started. As you may know, I have a bit of a potty mouth, and I typically just let language fly as it will, but David is always very clean, especially in his interviews and on his podcast. As such, I tried to keep my language clean so he would feel comfortable sharing it with all his people. I slipped once, so if you notice a slightly rough edit somewhere around the 45-minute mark, that's what that's about. I hope you get as much out of this interview as I did, and let's get to the show. Welcome to the Eat Well, Sleep Great, Run Far podcast. My name is Will Frantz, and I'm here to help you go farther, faster, and longer without injuries, gut problems, or giving up your favorite foods. Today on the podcast, we have David Theriot. He is an ultra runner who's been doing this crazy sport for almost a decade, has a 100-mile PR of 16:25:31. He's finished Western States and recently ran the Tahoe 200. He's also the host of the popular Run the Riot podcast. And as much as we're going to get into all of that, I'm always going to be food first, as you're well aware. You come from a place with some of my favorite food.
Yes.
You're from Louisiana, right?
Yeah, man.
Cool. Where are you from down there?
So I'm from South Central Louisiana, Lafayette, where people talk like this and like that. They got a good accent. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the food is phenomenal. And now that I live in Oklahoma, there's some pretty decent barbecue and some good barbecue out here and stuff. But man, I do miss my Cajun food, brother.
Yeah, man, I feel you. What is your favorite Cajun dish?
Oh, you really man. I
love. Pick a few. Okay. I'm not gonna.
I'm gonna have to drop a few, man. So
yeah, I'm not gonna make it Sophie's Choice.
Yeah. So I got to give a shout out to the people I used to run with. On the trail running. There's a trail running tribe called the Mud and Guts crew, and we go run at Chico State Park. It's where the Loup-Garou 100-miler is.
Oh,
and it used to be the Cajun Coyote, and
okay.
And that's where I used to train a lot. It's at Chico State Park. And so after a run, man, after a training run, I do like it's a 20-mile loop, and I do it twice some Saturdays and stuff for training. And at least one link of boudin after. And for those of you who don't know what boudin, it's Boudin. It's like I don't know, man. It's rice and meat and all this seasoning in a sausage casing, and you don't eat the casing. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's a great recovery, man.
Find out.
Exactly. It's great recovery because it's got like fats, it's got carbs, it's got protein, it's got all the things, man. So yeah, there you go. Food. And so that's my one of my favorite. And in fact, when I ran the Loup-Garou 100, I came in after like 40 miles. We do the loop, 20-mile loop 5 times. And Edie, who's the race director and a friend of mine, she said, "Theriot, I got some boudin." And I was like, "Yeah, right on." So I had some boudin before I went back out, man. It was good.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
Did you eat that in the middle of the race?
I did, man. I did, but I knew it was going to be, I wouldn't recommend it for anybody who's not used to Cajun food, but I was game for it, man.
Yeah, that would destroy my stomach, but you definitely are a lot better runner than me, so I'm sure that balances out. That's great, dude. It's really good.
Yeah, and so that's one of the foods, but man, like the gumbos, the crawfish etouffee,
that's a go-to for me, man. I really like a good crawfish etouffee. Like,
oh yeah,
I don't know.
and there's this place north of Lafayette, just north of Lafayette, called Préjean's. It's spelled pre-jeans for those of
Okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, Préjean's. And but man, they had something weird. It's crawfish enchiladas. Dude, make you slap your mama.
I bet that's
Amazing.
so
It's
good.
just so
That
good.
sounds so good. I just
Yeah,
want to
it
eat
was.
that.
Oh yeah, totally. I don't know
Ah,
probably about your daily allowance of calories in one dish, but super good, man. I miss that. We used to do that for lunch quite a bit.
man, that
Yeah,
sounds amazing.
yeah.
I'm
So yeah,
That's all I want.
yeah. You got there is here in Tulsa. There's a Cajun restaurant called Nola's. That's
Yeah.
they do some pretty good justice on some Cajun food. So it's not like back home, but it's good. So I do what I can.
That's cool, man. Yeah, there's a decent place here, but it's not the same, but it's still
Yeah.
good. Like they do a good job.
Yeah.
Why'd you're in Oklahoma now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
What made you go to Oklahoma from Louisiana?
Love, man, love. I'm married to
Love
Okie
that.
girl. Yeah,
That's great,
yeah,
dude.
yeah.
Real.
And I thought it was gonna be the South Louisiana is so hot and humid, and here, man, it's humid, man. I'm surprised at how humid it is. It's not
Yeah.
not quite as humid, but it's hot, dude. We're in triple digits, and we've been there for, like, I think we're at 103 right now. It's
Yeah.
crazy. It's ridiculous, and it's pretty humid because it rained this morning. So training's a booger, man.
It sounds awful, man. Like it's 99 right here, but it's, I don't know, 10% at most. I don't know what to tell you.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
it's
You
not
see,
in the same world.
yeah. Humidity just crushes. And I've got a lot of runners I'm training and stuff. They're like, they've either got to get up early. When you get up early, it's more humid. But temperature's not as hot, or you can do it later in the evening where some of the humidity's burned off, but it's still a little hotter. So you just that or treadmill,
It's miserable. Yeah, I'm on the treadmill a lot these days. It's actually more time than me not wanting to be out in the weather, but it has the side benefit of not being out in the weather. So
yeah. Well, and well, just talking about, because I know you do some it's 103 right now. So I know you do some training and stuff too. Oh, and the feel like is 112. So
yeah, there you go. Right.
Yeah.
It's like I've been at 115 in Arizona, and it's still like, it's just oppressive. It's so bad.
You can't be in your happy place in that, man.
It's unpleasant.
But think about this. So I don't know what's you're supposed to be asking me the question, but I'm curious, man.
That's fine. All day.
So like when we got to get our speed work in, and and I tell our runners, you get your speed work and try to get the fitness adaptations. Sometimes it's better to not even run outside, to, like, if you're doing intervals and stuff, if you want to get some of that in without all the heat. And I'm saying, if you have to, get on the treadmill for it's good to get the heat adaptations, but if you're trying to do the speed work and you want to do it efficiently, sometimes the heat's just so much you can't do it like you need to. So, man, jump on a treadmill to get your intervals in or something, if you got to.
I fully agree with that. And I agree with it, especially like the better you get, because the better you get, the harder you're going to have to push to get something like a VO2 max, right?
Yeah,
so the treadmill, especially if you're in the flatlands, like treadmill allows you to get in an incline, so you don't have to wreck your body as much. And then you're not trying to push at this pace that's going to probably give you heat stroke. So man, feel ya. Absolutely. All right. Could not agree more.
Yeah. And you can not die as much. It's just
100%. Yeah. I don't know. I try not to. It's clearly not my favorite place to run. I'm not going to be one of these. I'm not going to run 100 miles on a treadmill, but
oh, come on, man! You can do the Dreadmill 100 one year, man. Put it on your list. I did it.
It's far down the list, buddy. Maybe get there, but it's far down the list.
I wanted to do it, and so a few years ago, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it, and I went to the local gym, and my local gym, and just did it, and it was I don't know. I say it was a one and done. I might do it again at some point, but for now, it's a one and done. That was a long time at the gym.
I will say, like, if I were ever to do something like that, I would need to use one of the, like, assault runner style treadmills. As it is, treadmills are a little rough on I beat my joints up from training for frisbee and like cutting sports in my 20s.
Oh, okay.
the treadmill's fine I can do up to a couple hours, but as soon as I get too much over that, it just starts to destroy me. Those assault ones though, because they're curved and the fact that
Yeah.
you're self-propelled, like I could rock that thing forever.
Nice.
So if I were ever going to do it, it'd have to be that.
Yeah. I had weird, I guess, you know, different terrain you run on is different, but I got weird pains behind my knees just because of the way I was running on
Yeah, I
it,
could see that.
Yeah, it was, and I wasn't expecting that, but it was a cool experience.
Sure.
I watched a lot of Netflix on there, man. I was watching like Nicolas Cage movies and just whatever, just trying to keep the brain occupied.
Yeah, so. Man. I'm pretty sure Ray Berlanga did one sometime in the past 12 months. And like, I was just watching his story on Instagram and he just like pussed around, eating food, watching Netflix, like trying to run 100 miles on a treadmill. That's what else do you do?
But it was good if you get a system down. Like I would, and my treadmill would crack, like it would reset every hour. So I'd have enough for 2 hours of nutrition and fluids. And I had a fan blowing on me and I'd do it 2 hours. And then I'd go use the bathroom, refill everything, grab what I needed in 2 more hours at a time. So it anyway, it worked out. It was all right.
I like the fan move. I think it's a good move. Yeah, it's great. So how did you get into running? Because clearly you're really into running if you're going to run 100 miles on a treadmill. And
or stupid, yeah.
Yeah. A little column A, a little column B. Like
yeah.
Every time I ask this question of everybody that I talk to, not just podcasts, but also like every athlete before they start working with me. I want to know why. Yeah. What got you into this like trajectory that puts you into this crazy sport? Because it's nuts. It's a nutty thing to do, and I love it, but it's weird.
Yeah. So I guess so I wrestled in high school. And
really?
Yeah.
Do you know my dad was a wrestler?
No, I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, it's actually one of the only reasons I exist. He was a 2-time state champ in Pennsylvania, got full ride to Penn State for it. That's where I met my mom.
Sweet. That's awesome, man. Yeah.
Wasn't my sport, but I have a lot to it.
Yeah, no, that's cool, man. I loved it. It was good. And like I would run, we'd run like 5 miles on a Saturday. We'd run to cut weight. We'd run sprints at the end of practice and we hated it. And then after I graduated, I went to college and I did some judo there, and it's kind of similar and all, and I kind of liked it. And I always stayed in shape, working out at the gym, did a little bit of running, but not a whole lot. Yeah. And then I found jujitsu, and man, I really love that. That was, you can choke people out, and, or, tap, nap, or snap. And so I love that.
I'm just getting into it. I love it a lot.
Okay. Well, I'm about to buy another gi and get back into it after 10 years. Fun. And yeah. So we'll let's talk some jiu-jitsu, man.
That'd be awesome. So, Joel Cervantes is into it too. Maybe we could like all meet up at a race sometime and like chat.
Dude, that would be awesome. So, but I loved it. We competed. My 3 kids at the time, they all competed. So like we'd have the Terrios going to tournaments and stuff like that, and we did well. It was fun. It was newer in Louisiana, and so awesome. So that was my thing. I ended up I got my blue belt. Carlos Gracie handed me my blue belt at a seminar. It was cool. totally cool.
Really cool.
So I was training.
For those that don't know, like Gracie is the name in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah,
that's a big deal. That's like Jim Walmsley handing you your belt.
There you go. That's right. It'd be like Jim Walmsley handed you your shoes or something. So yeah,
exactly.
So man, I was moved around a little bit, and I was training at this gym. I was training with my instructor, and I did a bonehead move. I was trying to muscle through something, and I snapped my ACL. I felt it. Yeah, it was all me. And I felt that. I said, stop. And then I sat down on the side, and man, I caught the cold sweats and everything. Yeah. And then like a meathead, after the pain subsided, I went back in and rolled for another hour and a half. And then I was still, and during that time, I was only running for like cardio, and for some tournaments, I'd need to cut a little bit of weight, but I was still working out and all that. And I think the most I ever ran, like on a Saturday, I ran like 7 miles just to do it. Yeah. Well, when I tore my ACL, I was like, man, and I wasn't sure if I tore it or not. I went to my local doctor, went to an MRI, and I'm still doing stuff. I'm still doing jiu-jitsu. I'm still like running and stuff and working out. And my doctor calls me, and I knew her. She went to our church, and she said, David, stop. I'm like, stop what? She's like, stop everything you're doing. Just stop. Your ACL's torn. And I'm like, oh, Well, that's not good. I think we need to get that, So I got the guy who the New Orleans Saints who did their knees
nice.
to do my knee. And so while I was laid up, I read the book Born to Run. Great book. You got to read. If anybody listening hadn't read it yet, you got to read it. I mean, it's standard reading. You have to. You can't go to your next race till you read it. But anyways, but it was good. And so it kind of inspired me. And I was like, you know what? I want to run a little bit. I'm going to use that to rehab my knee. I'm going through rehab, and I wanted a goal. So I said, I'm gonna run a marathon within a year. I'd never run a 5K. I never ran a race. So I was like, I'm gonna run a marathon in a year. And so I rehabbed my knee. I started running when I could. Got surrounded by some people at the local track club to kind of, help guide me a little bit. Cause I didn't know, when you don't know, you don't know, you just run. Yeah. And so a lady helped coach me, and I ran my first race, the Baton Rouge Marathon. So that was December 2009 when I had surgery. December 2010, just shy of a year, I finished the Baton Rouge Beach Marathon. I did it in 3:43. And
nice, man.
And it was a cool experience. And I just said, well, I kind of like this running stuff. So, I went back and I ran 5Ks, 10Ks, did some more marathons, and just really enjoyed it. Started stacking up marathon. Lived in Hawaii for a year, did the Honolulu Marathon, did the North Shore Marathon. Just enjoying running around Hawaii and stuff.
What took you to Hawaii? I didn't know that.
We just moved there for work, and was helping out a church out there.
That's awesome.
Cool. I lived there it was great, man. My Saturday morning runs were on Waikiki. I'd run Waikiki right next to Diamond Head, the big crater you see and all the things, man. Quick side story. I'm running that one Saturday through this neighborhood, and just trying to make some miles to come back, because it's an island,
Sure.
And so I see this big old wooden gate on this house, some nice houses all throughout, and it has a head on it, like a big head. And I was like, what in the world? So I go running toward it, and there are all these cameras pointed on it. Dude, I found Dog the Bounty Hunter's house. He had his head, like a big thing of his head, on the gate. So like randomly, anyway, so that's one
of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Yeah, I was
like, you're gonna find Laird Hamilton or something. That's even more weird.
No, it was just random, because I mean, I knew who he was. I was like, mullet, no, he had his bust on the gate. So but anyway, I loved it out there. I did some hiking, and I didn't really know about ultras yet. I kind of knew about the Hurt crew. And
I was just gonna ask you if you'd done that.
No, man, I haven't. But I did hike those trails before I really realized about, and those
brutal,
dude. Yeah, they're slippery. It's crazy just hiking them. And so anyway, I didn't discover ultras till I moved back to the mainland. I did there was a trail half marathon, and I did it. I placed third. Nice. It was great. I had fun, and I was like, man, I love these trails. And then I really discovered ultra marathon. So I signed up for my first ultra marathon. I didn't do a 50K or 50 miler. I signed up for a 100 miler. And that was at Lake Chico. And it was December, once again, of 2013. I did my first ultra marathon. Was at the time, it was the Cajun Coyote 100.
Yeah.
So yeah, man. And so, but I trained my butt off for it. Like I was doing, I was doing 40 mile Saturdays, and on the course and stuff. So anyway, that's what, and then from then I went back and did 50Ks, 50 miles, and more 100 miles, and just looking for the next race, man. I think my second one was, I did the Rouge Orleans from Baton Rouge to New Orleans on the levee. It was 126 miles.
Is that the 126?
Yeah,
nice,
yeah.
Man. That's cool.
That was fun. It was hard because it was flat and monotonous, and it was cool because it's Cajun.
So flat.
God. Yes, it was.
I noticed a theme here where you just kind of like, as a fellow step skipper. Like,
yeah.
You seem to do that. What pushes that? Like I don't know what it is for me, so maybe you don't know either. But like, what is it that kind of pushes that? That's a really hard thing.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I think I don't know if I guess I don't overestimate, but I just like, I know I can do it. Like I know I can put I know I can do it. I know I can get it done.
Great.
I know I can, put in the work and do it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
So I give it if I guess my dad brought me up, when I was a sergeant in the Marine Corps, like, if you work for stuff,
Okay.
you
Yeah.
can attain it. And so like, I'm just going to go for the big one and then go back and, do the others.
Yeah, I like that. And I will say I do appreciate that it's not I'm not a huge fan of hearing the stories when people are like, I want to do this really hard thing, and then they don't train for it. And then they end up really injured, right?
Yeah.
Like, or with rhabdo or pick a thing. And I appreciate that part of your story is like, I signed up for a 100 miler and then I trained my butt off. Right? Like that I appreciate that a lot, actually.
Yeah. And I spent, we talked about the heat and humidity. And so like a lot of training for a December race is in heat and humidity in Louisiana on the trails, spider webs in your face, wild hogs on the trail, dude. It was nuts.
That's nuts.
Yeah. I had stare downs with a wild boar. I remember running one time and I hit some spider webs and you just, scream like a woman and stuff. And then I'm running down the trail and a spider is crawling like over the bill of my cap into my face. Like, dude, so I used to be a lot worse with spiders, but anybody heard me on the trail that morning, I was doing some kung fu and stuff, man.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. But I trained, man, like I put the time in, and that's what I tell people, like, you could do it. You got to put the time in though.
Sure.
You got to work. You've got to, trade some things maybe, but you got to make the time to train. If you want to do it and do it right. So.
No, I agree. I think it's really important. We can get into like, how many races have you done at this point? Ultra Sign Up has you listed at 43, but like, do you know if that's right or not?
I don't, you know what? I haven't counted in a while, man. So that's probably close, about that. Man, there are some that aren't listed. There's at least 1 or 2 hundreds that aren't listed. There you go. So I've got at least 1,500 milers. And so, and then, 50 milers, a lot of 50 milers, 50 Ks. And I think I'm at 20, just like 20 something marathons that I've done. And so I haven't been doing as many of them with COVID and all. Like, I haven't just haven't jumped into those. I used to do those a lot for training. If I got to do a long training run, might as well go run a marathon.
I can respect that. I feel that for sure.
Yeah.
You have a favorite you've done?
Oh man. So in 2018, I did the Tahoe 200 and completed it.
Yeah.
That's up there, man. Cause that was just cause I don't know. It's a beautiful place. The climate is great. It's even when it's hot, it's a dry heat, but it's cool. It's crisp. And a beautiful place, and just the accomplishment to be able to do that and get it done after, putting the training in. That was a pretty big one. I guess, I don't know, second and third, I don't know if you've heard of the Lovett 100 in Hot Springs area, Arkansas.
Only from you. That's
okay. It's a great race. It's it's an out and back, but it's a cool trail. I like Arkansas, man. There's a great running community there, and there's some great trails. And this was a good trail. I enjoyed that one.
That's awesome.
And that placed second on that, but nice. Also like Western States, man. I can't, Western, like the actual run is such a blur. It was hard, man. That's a hard race, dude.
Yeah, notoriously so. What was your time on that? I actually didn't look that up because I wanted to ask you.
Yeah, I finished that in 2019, and it's a good race, man. And just all the people there, and what it symbolizes. The canyons are hot. Luckily, they said ours was a cool year, but it was hot, man. It was hot. We ran in 10 miles. It's almost
always hot. It's just insane. Like
so you go up the 3.5 miles up the escarpment, and then we had to run in 10 miles of snow. I never ran in snow. I'm from South Louisiana.
You were on a snow year. Oh yeah. That was 19. I forgot that. That was notorious.
And it was people were post holing in parts of it. I ran with Dave Mackey, and I mean,
I bet they are.
Yeah. And so it was that was interesting. It was tough, so you running 10 miles of snow, then you end up suffering in the canyons. But it was cool, man. We didn't get to cross Rucky Chucky though. They put us in a boat because of
Really?
this snow melt. The water was too
Oh,
high.
that was just terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to jump in the boat, which was fine. And
Sure.
I threw water on myself to cool down. And of course, by the time I got there, it was dark. I wasn't like but I finished. I did what was my 22 something? When was it? 2019. 22:29. So I was proud of that. I was for to go out there and for a Flatlander to go out there and
It should
handle
be,
it. So.
man. Yeah, just looking at them myself. Yeah, that's a good time for that race. I mean, clearly sub 24 is kind of the goal anyway, a lot of the time for most things. And if you're getting that on Western, that's fire. That's awesome.
Yeah, I felt good about it. It was good, man. It was cool. And it was a good, I run for, I'm an ambassador on the Ultra Red team, and Ultra was sponsoring it that year. So it was really cool. We got to hang out with, some of the Ultra elites and stuff, and, Jeff Browning and Zach Bitter and some of the others. So it was kind of cool. I was fanboying. So it was
that's awesome. I really like their shoes a lot. We can talk here later, but I appreciate that for sure. I mean, let's just roll into it. Well, like, what do you clearly like Ultra? I do as well. My Escalantes are like right there. They don't serve me as well on the trail because I'm just not conditioned enough in my calves. I need something with actually like a little lift, which is amusing because I'm flat. Like I wear nothing all the time, but I think they make a great product. What do you tend to wear? What's your favorite stuff?
So when I first started, that first 100-miler I did way back in the day, I wore the Superiors, and those are pretty minimal. Yeah. But man, that first edition were so comfortable. But since then, as I've gotten older, we don't have as much as I get older, you don't have as much like cushion under, like the fat under your feet just disappears. Yeah. And so I graduated and I went to I was wearing the Lone Peak. That was my go-to for a long time. Nice. And then now, man, I'm all Olympus, dude. I love the Olympus. I like the cushion. I'll run this is awesome. So I was wearing Injinji. Now I'm wearing Exo Toes. As long as I keep my toes separated, I'll put a little bit of stuff on them.
My Injinjis are right there.
Yeah, all right. Yeah.
I've never tried Exo because I haven't needed to buy new socks yet. But they're up for me because of you, actually.
Oh, awesome, dude. Yeah.
I'm going to try them out.
But man, that's what I keep your toes separated because, when they're together, they cause trouble. They fight. Terrible. So for me anyway, but dude, I wear like for Love It. I remember I wore Exo Toes and I put a little bit of lube ahead of time, and we had a bunch of stream crossings that year. It was wet. And I in my Olympus, I didn't change my shoes or socks the whole race. And I'm pretty blessed about that. I know a lot of people just have foot issues, but man, I've been able to run, a lot and rarely do I have to change my shoes or socks,
that's awesome.
Yeah. So I found that combination that works for me.
Do you lube like under sock over? What's your strategy for that?
So what I do, really, I'll take whatever lube, which I've used all of them. They're, whatever.
They're all Vaseline. I'm sorry to I'm sure there's a difference if you actually really struggle, but for most people.
Some of them smell a little better.
Yeah, exactly.
But I'll just put it mainly a light coat on all my feet and between my toes, and then I'll put my my Exo Toes on, and that's it, man. That's awesome. What I do. Cool. And it works, man. I rarely, last time I had any kind of blister was in 2018 when I did the Tahoe 200. And a lot of it, I was wearing the Olympus then. And a lot of it was because I think I had my shoes, I didn't have them tight enough, and I was doing more hiking than I was used to. So there was a rub with the hike, but it was just on the sides of my heels, and we taped them up. And I was fine, but everything else was fine. I've really been blessed. I hadn't had any issues. And so that combination works well for me, man. I do have, you see right here, I got a bunch, but I do have some of the Superiors. I have some of their other, trail shoes. I have the Temper also great too, for like some of my shorter trail runs. Sure. I really like those. But the Olympus, man, for anything, especially 100-milers, man, that's my go-to. I love them. Super comfy. That's awesome, man. And I can wear them right out of the box. I can jump into a 100-miler right out of the box. I know we always tell people don't do anything new on race day, but I know with these, man, I put on a brand new pair when I just attempted the Tahoe 200 again. I put on a brand new pair that morning, and they were perfect for the 100 miles I was out there. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
I mean, you brought up house. We kind of know how it went a little bit since you just said you did 100 of 200, but
yeah,
talk about it. Like it was, I know it's an out and back this year. It's kind of a weird course. Like, what went on?
So Tahoe 200 this year, man. When I did it in 2018, it was the 5th year. So the 5th year they decided to reverse the course. So it was so I ended up doing it the opposite way from people normally do. We did it clockwise instead of counterclockwise. And so I wanted to do it the normal way. So I signed up for it. Of course I was supposed to try to do the Triple Crown, fires, everything, just craziness, whatever.
It's been
meteorites, whatever. End of the world, whatever. So
rough 2 years.
Yeah. And so I was like, great, I'm gonna get to do it. Well, the fires messed up the south portion, so we were going to do it the same way I did it, but out and back to Heavenly Aid Station and back. So to heaven and back is what we called it. And so I was like, okay, well, we'll miss Rubicon because Rubicon was terrible. That section was horrible.
I've heard nothing but bad things.
Oh man. And then the year I did it, we hit that. I hit it during the night. I was 100 and something miles in. It was gross, but anyway, man, went out, was feeling really good for the weather was great. We were, it was cool because it wasn't too cold during the day, but we'd hit like snow flurries and stuff and like sleet. Like in the 2 days I was out there, like probably 5 or 6 times each day, there were some flurries and some sleet, cool. but it was cool. So the first time I saw it, I looked at the guy running with me and I was like, am I really seeing that? It's kind of early to be like hallucinating. So I was like, no, that's snow. I'm like, all right. But it was beautiful, man. I love it out there. It's great. It was awesome. So everything was going great until it wasn't. So there's a notorious section called Power Line. And I was looking forward to going up it instead of down it. Sure. But I had to go down it first. And I fell a few times going down it. Your feet just slide out from under you because it's so steep. And
what is the grade on? Is it like 45 angle kind of thing?
Some spots are about 45, I would say. And it kind of undulates. But I mean, I think everybody falls going down it. I think going up's easier because I actually went down the wrong ridge. It wasn't marked really well this year. And so I went down the wrong ridge for a little ways and realized I pulled out my GPS and realized I was off. So I had to climb back up.
That's what you need right
there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was at mile 67 of a 200 miler. Like, yeah, it's great.
That's enough to make you really furious. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so, but I fell a few times and it was shortly after that, man, my quads, I was careful not to bomb the downhills. Cause I train people. I tell people not to bomb the downhills. You don't want to blow your quads. And so I was pretty conservative. Sure. And man, my quads, both of them started just killing me. And to where I was having to really go slow on the downhills.
Yeah.
And then I was starting to, as it progressed, I was even running the flats were pretty painful. So I was doing a lot of power hiking. Yeah. And then I was thinking, you know what? I guess I'm just going to power hike the rest of this thing. I had enough time. I was way ahead of cutoffs and stuff. Well, the last 5 miles before the Heavenly Aid Station, on my left quad on the kind of the outside started hurting. And the medic there, he said, oh, it sounds like your IT band, but I don't think it was. But anyway, I know I was using my left trekking pole so much more to support that leg that I had a knot in my shoulder that hurt almost as much as my quad. It was terrible, man.
That sounds awful.
Yeah. So by the time I got there, man, I was slowed down to a crawl. Any downhill was super slow. My wife saw me. She's like, oh crap. When I got there. So I ate, I took a nap for about an hour and then it didn't even get any better. I tried to stretch. And so we had planned, I have 3 adult grown kids and 2 of them are living in California. And so they were coming to meet us at Tahoe to spend some time afterwards. And then my daughter from South Louisiana was flying in to meet us too. And so I was gonna have all my kids there. And that on top of the mental part of like, I got to turn around all that I just did and do it again backwards. And I was hurting. And, I ended up, I figured I didn't want to risk an injury because I was going to be there the rest of the week. And I said, I'm just going to call it. And so at 100 miles, I called it and it was rough. I was upset.
Yeah, I bet.
But then I got to spend Father's Day with all my kids, man. Instead of being out on the trail. And then we had within a few days, I was actually able to go run again a little bit. I found out where we were staying, where some trails linked up with the TRT. And so I got to run with my oldest daughter, who's training for her first ultra. And
Really?
she's coming here to do
Awesome.
it. It's going to be the Flat Rock 50K in South Kansas. So she's going to come, and
Cool.
we're going to go do that. But so it ended up being a fantastic week of hanging out at
Good.
Lake Tahoe, man. So it was disappointing not to finish, but hey, my Sunday school class, when we flew back, I flew back to Saturday and taught Sunday school to Sunday. And one of my guys, I was, they were asking, what's the story?
Sure.
And I was telling them, and he said, all right, I just want you to know, you're the only guy I know that ran 100 miles in the mountains and you disappointed. He's like, I was like, all right, that makes sense. All right. Like, well, I didn't finish, but
fair aspect to that. I mean,
yeah. So
God, take that a few different ways. One thing that was really kind of running through my mind, and how do you know when to call it when you're that far in? And I've heard you say it to, like, I was listening to your interview with Jeff and Jeremy in prep for this to make sure I'm not covering the same story like 12 times.
yeah.
And you say sometimes your wife has to call it for you, which I fully understand. I'm pretty sure if I were, a few miles to the end, I'd use my teeth. So like, how do you know when to call it?
It's tough, man. And there have been some where my wife has called it. She's like, okay, you're done. And she kind of, actually, she said that she told me, she actually used those words for part of this, like, you're done. And I wasn't sure if I was done yet, but then I was like, yeah, I'm kind of done. And I've had some races, and you probably heard in that interview where honestly, I physically, looking back, I probably could have kept going. I've had some, but mentally I was just done. And one time it was probably for overtraining. I trained so much that I was just like physically I could have kept going. There was nothing wrong with me physically, but my brain, I was running mad. And you listen to my podcast, man. I tell people I like to run happy. I like to run, I'm all about positivity, man, and joy and stuff. And I'm running and I'm just mad. And I'm like, this is stupid. And so I just called it. And maybe, if I'd have just taken a long nap and eaten, look, hindsight's always 2020, but when you're in that moment, man, and it's tough. But sometimes when you're injured, especially when your health is on the line, there are some things you can push through, and it's hard to ascertain. You got to know your body, man. But there's sometimes you've just got to live to fight another day, and that's the wise thing.
I agree with that a lot. And I mean, and I cut some caveats here. Like, I'm sure there's some races that people just like, it's kind of do or die for them. Or like, if you're making a paycheck on this, I understand that. I'm not going to judge how you make your money, but for most of us, like, there's another one. Like, it really is. And I think for sometimes it's hard to see that line when you're in it. And I appreciate that you have your wife there to be like, look, dummy, like, come on. I know you want this, like, come on. I really appreciate it.
And it means, honestly, man, like, if I, like, I don't know if I'd have kept going, I probably would have, because of the way I was moving, my mechanics were off. I probably would have hurt something, but I might've been able to finish, but I'd have been, I'd have been in a world of hurt for a while. Would it have been worth it? I don't know. It depends how, because I'm an active guy, man. I like to do. I told my wife after this, I was like, I'm gonna take a break for a little while, and take a break and she's like, and she said, oh, you're gonna have extra time. I was like, what do you mean? I said, I'm gonna take a break from running races. I'm still gonna be up in the morning. I'm still gonna be at the gym. I'm still gonna be like, I have to move. I have to do stuff, man. When I had my ACL surgery, I had the ACL reconstruction in 2009. Well, I blew my ACL again in 2015 on a trampoline. And I thought my running might be done because it's the same knee. I dinged my cartilage. I tore my meniscus, and that was a long recovery. But I was on crutches for 6 weeks, but I was in the gym, dude. I was like, as soon as I could drive, I was in the gym on crutches doing what I could. I have to, I just gotta. Got to do something, man. Try to
Yeah.
always be better. I knew my leg was going to atrophy. So what can I do? I can work on my core and upper body as
Yeah.
much as I can, so that when I can run again, I've, all that's in place. And I do believe in active recovery. And the more
Me too.
our bodies are amazing, man. If something's injured and you work the other parts, it actually helps the injured part if you're careful,
Actually, absolutely true.
Yeah. So that's what I tell people to do. I say this all the time, but until you can do what you want, do what you can.
Yeah.
And
And like there's a line there, and I think this is one of these things, like as a coach, when you study enough of it, the line gets blurred, and it's kind of weird until you like even go further and then parse it. Because like if you look at people training for the Olympics, like all of their recovery is basically on a couch, and that's also they're training 40 hours a week. But until you're to that point, like for the most part, you should still be active. Go take a walk. One of the fastest things to make your muscles faster, better, is a lower weight version of that movement. So like do some body squats. Like I don't know, man, whatever works for you. But unless you are training so much that you literally can't do anything else, that is actually going to help you so much.
Yeah, and that's why I talked to one of my my runners. We had a call a little bit before we got on, and I was telling him, like recovery run. He's kind of the same mindset like us. He likes to keep moving every day, and I said no. I said that's great. Just keep it. As long as your recovery run is for recovery, you shouldn't be pushing it. You should be really slow. Should be super easy for it to serve its purpose. If you push too hard for a recovery run, that's not the purpose of it, and so, I think it helps blood flow, movement, all that stuff. It just helps you to recover from your hard work the days before.
Yeah, absolutely. And it probably from most people should be a walk run. And that's fine. That's an okay thing.
Super easy. Yeah,
absolutely. So you mentioned coaching. How long have you been doing that?
I guess probably a year and a half to 2 years. It kind of just happened, with the podcast and everything. Was that?
Yeah, I bet it did.
Just had the, a lot of experience. I've been racing for a while, and, was doing really well, winning a lot of races for a while, and people would come to me to help. And I was just like, I'd give advice. I love helping people. And then, so finally I decided, I need to, if I really want to help people in an official capacity, I need to, and my time is so limited, man. I'm involved in a lot. And so, and for my wife to, give me, I need to be able to, just to do it officially. And so, I was doing it. And then, once we were able to do ultra running certification, I went ahead and I did that. I was already coaching, but which was fantastic. I learned during it, and did that, and so it's been fun. And I've had people come in and do their goal race, and then rotate off, and just they're good for a while. And I've had some that just like, no, I want you to keep coaching me through, and here's what we're going to do this year, and here's my goals, and we talk through those things. And so it's been fun, man, and been able to help people really achieve their goals. And some people shoot really high and they get close and don't make it, but and if I let them know, like, here's reality, you might be able to do this, we can try, but don't be, we could shoot a little lower and then shoot for this higher thing later. But, I let, because I know we talked about skipping steps. So it's like, if some people want to skip steps, I'm not going to be one to try to hold them back if they want to put the work in, So
I think that's your job as a coach, right, man? Like, right, is answer questions and then answer them honestly, and let them make the choice. Like,
that's it.
I don't try to make choices for people. Like, even when it comes down to, like, my real specialty is like food and stuff. But when it comes down to that, like, you can fuel or you cannot. Like, these are your options. I mean, I know what I would choose, but you're an adult. Make your choice. But
That's
these are what those choices are going to bring you. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. And even in training, like I prescribe, here's what you should do. And you have some runners that, man, follow it to a T. And sometimes at their detriment. Like, you need to let me know when you're tired. You need to let me know, like, put notes in there so I can back off, because if you're or if you're sick, well, like I've been running all week sick. What, like really bad stuff.
I woke up this morning sick, and the tempo run was really hard.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
come on, dude.
Just, come on.
Yeah. So, but then you have some that skip a lot. And so when you talk to them, it's, you got to be, okay, well, let's talk about expectations. Like if you miss a lot of runs, it will affect us on race day. It's going to affect your performance. We build enough in there where, if life happens and you miss some, it's fine.
100%.
But if you're not consistent though, man, consistency is huge. That is, and that's what I try to tell everybody. If you can maintain consistency, that's a large part of that's half the battle, man. Just being consistent in your training and showing up, even if you have a terrible run, you did it,
Yeah.
And so anyway,
I really like David Roach. David Roach was telling somebody 10 minutes counts, and like get out there and like do a thing, and like don't push it sick, right? But like out there and do a thing and reassess and go home. Like if it's really bad, like, go try and
show up.
Yeah. Show up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been fun, man. It's been rewarding, and I love getting to do it. And like I said, I'm pretty busy. So like I'll max out at max out at about 10 people, and then I just that's about where I'll and I'm about maxed out right now. So, but it's fun. So I get more emotional helping other people achieve their goals. When somebody gets their first buckle, or whatever, it gets me, man. I love that. And I'm just helping them unlock what's already in there. You're just guiding them, like they did the work, and so I love being able to affirm them. Like you did this, you put in the work. You got up every morning. You did all the things when you didn't want to, didn't feel like it, and you got out there and you gave it your all, and you finished that race, And so, man, and you and I both know like that translates into life, like when you can achieve something big, man, those principles are huge, man, for life, like if I can run 100 miles, if I can train and never have did 100 miles, what else can I do? If I put the time and effort into it, what else can I accomplish in life and business and finance, whatever, family, relationships, all that stuff. So it's
huge
good
crossover. And the other way around too. Like all of the hard stuff helps all the other hard stuff.
Exactly. 100%. Yep. It helps your mentality.
On that note, when you're out there, and this is a question I asked the guys too, because I haven't done it yet, right? Like I'm training for a 50 in November and a miler, and I'm not that worried. Like I've done the numbers. I could walk it and finish. I wouldn't be stoked if that happened. But like, great. But how do you get through the hard mindset things? Because I have a lot of people ask me this question, and for me, it's always just like do the hard thing, then the next hard thing becomes a little less hard. But when you're in the moment, that's not helpful. So, like, what are your tips on that?
Yeah. So I remember when I was first training for the 100 miler, I'd end up, you end up on a trail training with people and running. And if I found out somebody had run 100 miles before, man, I would just pick their brain,
Sure.
kind of just try to figure out what, how to get through cause it's like, I've never run an ultra where there hasn't been a part of it that sucked, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
So like going into it and just knowing, okay, there's going to come a time where it's going to suck and it's going to hurt. And it's going to be, I'm not going to want to be out there. And so it's just preparing yourself for it. And for that 100 miler, I got all kind of crazy tips, but they were cool. Like think of a mantra, what are some things you can tell yourself that you can start being positive, because that negative is going to creep in. And okay. And so like my first 100, it's going to sound stupid. I heard it somewhere, and this is the one I used. All right. It's kind of cheesy, but I don't care. Anybody can use it. As the miles get longer, I get stronger. So I'm in the woods. I'm in the woods running. It's like, this hurts, but as the miles get longer, I get stronger,
I love that.
And that helped, and things like that, and different people have different things that they repeat to themselves. And there's a lot of talk about your why, why do I want to do this? And, and why am I why am I trying to prove this? And, what, and so that's a huge thing to answer beforehand. Like, why am I doing this? I want to be an example. I want to show that I can do it. I know that there's, not going to say greatness. I know that I can do great things. I can do hard things. And so I want to prove this to myself and to my kids and to people around me. And so knowing those things and one of the mantras I kind of adopted, I read Jurek's book, North.
Sure.
This is who I am. This is what I do. I like that one.
I like that one.
This is who I am, and this is what I do. And like, hey, this is what I do. I get out here and I run. And when it hurts, I keep running. So it's like, when I get tired, I keep running. And those are mental things.
Sure.
But that there's the practical things too. When your mood changes, you need to check your electrolytes. You need to check your calories and stuff. Oh, we need to talk about food in a little bit, because I need to tell you my adventure that's going on with food right now. But anyway, but anyway, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that's the mindset. So when it sucks, get your mantra ready. Oh, something somebody else told me that I thought was pretty good. I had people record like messages on my phone, or like send me a message that I wouldn't listen to until it got tough. And you listen to the mess, like an encouraging message from somebody.
I love that idea.
Yeah, man. And then somebody else, told me they had somebody like write down just write down on little slips of paper a word of encouragement, and they tucked it into their thing and they pull them out and read it, kind of the same genre. And then also there's all the a song playlist, songs that get you pumped, emotional and stuff like that. So yeah,
I really like the recorded messages idea, because as much as I'm deeply introverted, there's still these people I call when I'm down, right? Yeah. As we all have. And unfortunately, a lot of the places where you run ultras, you don't have service. So yeah, it's true. I really like the recorded idea. That's really great.
Yeah.
Let's talk about food, since you wanted to do it. I was going to ask you anyway, what do you do for like nutrition and all this stuff on your running? Because different stuff works for different people, and I could talk anybody's ear off about the like numbers from it, but like what works for you. And then if you have whatever you wanted to chat about, or we could do that later. I really don't.
Okay, no. So here's the kind of when I was doing my best, when I was in 2018, 19, when I was just crushing it, I was winning more ultras than or podium more ultras than not.
Sure.
I was actually I was doing the keto thing, man. I was fat adapted. Now it wasn't a super like it was more kind of like what Mike McKnight's doing, the low carb, high fat, where you change it up a little bit. And that worked well for me. And over the past couple of years, I got out of it. I liked food and eating other things. And so not that I over the past couple of years, I would eat more semi-healthy with periods of, I don't know, too much indulgence probably.
Sure.
And so just but trying to keep things healthy, try to eat whole foods and good stuff. And so that's kind of where I was. And when I fuel for a race, tailwind was my kind of my base for a while till my stomach went south. And now I really play with different things. I use Scratch Super Fuel for this last Tahoe. And that worked pretty well
I love that fuel.
Some liquid calories. It has a little bit of a consistency that's weird, but man, 400.
But I think I blend it, but it's a great fuel.
Okay. You blend, what do you blend it with? You mix it with some
blender, and like I bring it in fluid. I mean, clearly I don't know what I'm going to do at an aid station. I'm honestly not sure if that's going to carry. But like I'm in my house, I put it in the blender.
Yeah.
And then I make us like hyper concentrated, because you can just pack a ton of that into a really small amount of solution. And then like my bladder is full of water with some salt and lemon juice in it. And then I actually don't use Scratch. I use like the generic version of HBCD, but it's the same thing. It's still it's cluster dextrin, and put that in there, and it does love to clump. So I will blend it and then put it in my bottles. But
the Scratch Super Fuel does pretty well. It didn't clump, but it had like a kind of an oily consistency.
Really?
Like, it's not, and I got and so,
I've not had that with their.
Okay.
the
Yeah,
stuff I've
this
had. Fascinating.
it's that new super fuel, and it
Yeah, no, I've used it at the gym where I work. And
okay, okay.
I didn't have that experience, so I kind of find that really interesting.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I would use a 500 milliliter thing, and I
Sure.
mix it like they say, fill it half with water, put half
Sure.
of the stuff in it, shake it, and then put the rest.
Sure.
And but it worked great. I mean, 500 milliliter bottle, I was 400 calories, and so I would sip on that. And because I'm kind of gun shy on my bladder, when I filled my bladder a while back at Moab with that god awful electrolyte mix that made me puke, and I was stuck with that for 20 miles.
Yeah.
I just go water in my bladder, and
Yep.
then I do the other things.
I think that was a
separate.
very, very smart choice.
Yeah. And so that's kind of how I roll now. But so I'm still experimenting with different things. I use Spring Energy, and I love the cis gels.
They make such good stuff. They're so expensive.
Dude.
Really great. Same with Morton.
Yeah, Morton, and I had some Morton too. So I had at this last race, I had Spring Energy, I had the Super Fuel, I had a few Spring Energy, the Morton, and the what was the other one we just said? The Assist. And so I was
Sport, that one.
Yep, exactly. And so I would just mix them up, as I went. And but yeah, the Morton's great. It just you got to sell a kid or something, or exactly. A kidney, a kid or kidney, one of them.
All of this stuff is so expensive, to be honest. Like it's just sugar, and yet it's really highly engineered sugar, but it's
yeah.
Jeez, it's expensive.
Yeah, it is. So let me tell you my adventure.
You have to sell your car. Yeah, let's talk.
So for the past 2 weeks, I've been carnivore, man.
Okay.
But so here's the deal. So like I wanted to experiment with it. Did all the research and stuff like that. And so I've been all the running I do, and this sounds kind of vain, but I've been keeping a little extra weight around my midsection that I couldn't get rid of good, and even when I'd eat really healthy and stuff. And so I started doing that, and I'm not making it a lifestyle thing. I'm doing it for a period. But after the initial couple days, kind of keto flu-ish or whatever, I've been feeling really good. It makes things very simple, a lot of beef, a little bit of bacon, eggs, and all those. It's really easy. It's super easy. And I feel great. My mind's clear. Fat along the midsection is peeling off pretty quick. And but what I plan on doing is transitioning from that, almost using it as an elimination diet. Good. Starting to incorporate a little bit of dairy, and then introduce healthier vegetables, some of my squashes and Brussels sprouts and things like that, and go into keto, more keto, low carb, high fat again, and see how that does, helps me with my racing, kind of go back to that. But yeah, but still fueling my runs, eating some carbs before and after to replenish, but going back and forth into that, fat burning mode and burning glycogen, so I'm experimenting, having fun. But yeah, it's been interesting. My wife's like, oh my gosh, you just eat meat. I'm like, yeah, it's good. I like meat.
Sure. I mean, we have so many things going on with diet, right? Like this is kind of the thing. And like you and I can dive deep into this if you want. But there's so many things that happen with diet. And the biggest thing is every diet works for a little while. And most of the time they work because this food you were eating prior to your diet was kind of crap. And then when you decide to go on a diet, you cut out all the crap. So your diet works for a while. And it forces you to be a little stricter. Now, the thing, you're fueling your runs because keto doesn't tend to work for performance, especially for, they've done it even on race walkers, right? So like Olympic race walkers, and they move slower than ultra runners, and keto doesn't even help them perform better. So if we're talking about fat being this great long burning fuel, if it doesn't help race walkers, it's not going to help you. I don't care what your sport is, unless it's maybe curling, because like it's a really chill sport, and there's nothing against curling. Bowling maybe as well. Like it's probably fine for those. Beyond that, it's not going to improve your performance. So using the carbs around is basically a requirement if you're going to do really well. And you see this even in people like Michael McKnight. Like he the no calorie and keto stuff gets all the press, but when it comes down to it, and Jeff Browning talks about that as well, like he eats 150 to 200 calories of carbs on his runs, like
Yeah.
per hour on his
Yeah.
runs. It's a performance fuel. You need
Yeah.
to. And then the other issues I have, like with long-term keto, is it makes you like much more, it pushes you towards insulin resistance. So you'll actually end up in this space where you don't process glucose as well. So when you start to reintroduce, you can end up with like these giant spikes and crashes from sugar consumption. And that's even true during or like pre-workout. So as much as you might want to fuel that, you'll end up with this big crash. And then you might actually feel like that feeling like you've been kind of shot in the butt with a tranquilizer. That you get when you eat like this way too big of a meal because you're having this big insulin spike. You can end up with a similar thing, and you've created that problem for yourself when it comes to keto, right? So like this is a thing that I kind of warn people about. And one of the reasons, but the main thing, and I've done keto, it feels good, it really does. The reason that it seems to feel really good is because it just cuts out so much garbage. Like you could just eat like potatoes and sweet potatoes and like good rice and all these things. But when we give ourselves this room to eat carbohydrates, we often eat the donut, right? And I have no issue with the donut.
It's so good.
It's great. And it's great probably around your workout, or else you kind of get it, or else you end up eating 12 of them. And that's where our problem is. So like, that's mostly what's going on. And I hope that like that probably tracks a little bit with yours. It has tracked with everybody's. It tracks with mine. Like I had a giant burrito that was not very healthy for me last night, and I woke up feeling like I'd been shot in the butt with a tranquilizer today. Like it wasn't good. Like,
and it was fuel, but not good fuel.
And like my current diet is not great. Like I can be super blunt about that. I work 15-hour days and I just try to put in food. And like that's kind of that's the cycle I am in my life, and it needs to change. But most of the reason is not that it has carbohydrates or that it has whatever, or that it has meat in it. If we're taking from a vegan perspective, it is that I eat crap. I need to stop eating crap. That's mostly what it comes down to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. And that's what, that's kind of where I'm going to go with it, just eating really clean, and cycling those things, and so, it's fun. It's fun and I enjoy, we probably talked about this when you were on my podcast, about I enjoy lifting. I enjoy being at the gym. I enjoy that. And it's kind of fun watching my body change as I go through, like when I have time in between races and I'm doing a lot of lifting and, putting on muscle. And so anyway, it's always fun to experiment and see how things, I've done bulking and cutting and all that stuff. And it's fun. And so I like that part of the journey. And so like now when I'm about to start doing like jujitsu again, it's like, okay, I want to make sure my strength is where it needs to be, because I used to be really strong. And so it's finding that balance. And I'm looking forward to jujitsu as great cross training and to keep me limber, because I don't stretch like I should, with running and stuff. So
neither do I feel you.
So
I tell most people, like I coach myself currently for a whole host of reasons, largely experimentation beyond anything else. But it is all I tell my athletes is I'm the worst, man. Like you just got to be a little better than me, and I'm not going to be pissed at you. Like I'm the worst. Like, that's the other reason I haven't hired anybody. Like because Jesus, I would not do what they told me to do ever. Like it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Terrible. And I am willing to deal with the consequences of that right now, because I care more about my athletes' results than I do my own.
Right.
Like that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
And before I forget, because it does matter, because so many people ask me about this stuff. If you're the piece around your midsection, right? So you're in a calorie deficit. That's it. Like that's what's coming off. And then also you're not at all bloated because you've lost a bunch of water weight, right? So that's what's going on there. And that's super easy. And then when you go back to running, you probably need a little bit of that extra fat to support that performance. And I know my nutrition coach, my mentor in the space, his name's Jason Phillips. He runs like he's done Conor McGregor's cut. He's done all sorts of stuff. And
nice.
He used to tell these like high level CrossFit athletes, like if you want to do really well in the games, I'm going to take your abs from you and I'll give them back to you in the summer. But
Yeah.
I need to take them from you or else you're going to crash and burn.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
funny. Yeah.
kind of like the cycles of the year you get to play with.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things I think that's hard for runners sometimes is there's never really an end to your season. So like, unless you intentionally create a gap like you are right now, and I really appreciate that, like it's hard to do the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. It's fun. And it you know, for me, because I have to be active and but like the leaning toward lifting and like even now the jiu-jitsu, it just gives, I don't know, it just gives it's exciting to change things up and to do different things, but they support each other, you know. So anyway, yeah, it's fun stuff.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, kind of on that note, I know we've been going over an hour and I don't want to like take up too much of your time, and I got to go teach a class here at some point, but what's coming up? I know there's one race you have on Ultra Sign Up, and I don't know if that's still happening. Like what's coming up for you in the future?
So here's the deal. I'm the first on the right now I sit at 1 on the waiting list for High Lonesome in Colorado, and that's the end of the month, but I don't know if I'm going to do it or not because because it's kind of close, and I think I'm at a place where I might just need that break. So we'll see. Yeah. And then I have the Lake Murray endurance run. That's a kind of a newer 100-miler in South Oklahoma in October. And then I'm also signed up for the Dinosaur Valley race.
That's awesome, man. I know a couple of people doing that.
Yeah. And so, but all three of those, I'm not sure if I'm going to do them or not. I'm not sure if I'm going to take the rest of the year off. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll see.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm still working through that. There's part of me that feels like I just should go ahead and do it, but I've got a lot going on, and I always tell my athletes, balance is important. Yeah. This is something we do that is not a necessity. Family comes first, faith and family, those things come first. And so I'm just kind of weighing things right now, to see if that's the thing I need to be putting my time to, so we'll see. I may not, we'll see what happens.
I mean, training for an ultra inherently is imbalanced. It just kind of throws stuff out. So sometimes you got to take a cycle to do some other stuff. Yeah. I think that's great.
Yeah. So we'll see, man. And if I'm honest, if we run too much, you kind of lose that little bit of joy that you get from running. And it becomes like I have to, especially having a podcast and coaching people, like you start feeling obligated to do something that you love. And then I don't want to not love it anymore. And so that shouldn't be my why. And so I'm taking some time to do a mental check and maybe give myself an opportunity to miss it a little bit. And then I'll jump back in. So we'll see.
That's great.
Yeah.
Are there races that you really want to do still?
Well, I got a few like redemption I'd like to
that's where you went first. All right.
Yeah. And that to be honest, I need to check my mentality on that. I
mean, to be fair, I realize this isn't yours, but like sometimes you can get a little frustrated and it can push you through that gap. Like,
it's true. I've
I'm not saying it should be how you run all the time, but it can be useful.
Chip on your shoulder can help a little bit, but I prefer to run like positive, but I've there's a few 200s I'd like, I did DNF Moab and Bigfoot.
I was wondering if you were thinking about doing those again.
Yeah, I do. If I do, it'll be, like one per year or something like that. So we'll see. But like I said, just gonna take it a step at a time and check out my motives. So
that's awesome, man. I really think that's cool. Great. Well, thanks for being here, man. What else do you have coming up as far as like life and podcast and anything you want to tell people before we kind of cap out of here?
Man,
your space, take it.
Yeah. Hey, check out the podcast, Run the Riot podcast. I actually took a little break from it because the final training for Tahoe and a lot of life things going on. And you and I talked a bit about some of it off air, and just a lot of stuff happening. But I got some interviews lined up and about to start putting new material out. Other than that, just work, man. I'm busy with work. And I'm excited to, like we said, I'm excited to start doing some jujitsu again as cross training. I love that. And that'll be fun. You know, hey, I might throw some jujitsu stuff into the podcast, man. We'll do ultra running and jujitsu. So we'll see.
I mean, it could flow where it needs to go, man. That's kind of the fun thing about a podcast. I mean, I originally started that Facebook group as nothing about nutrition, and suddenly I'm an ultra running coach. So you just gotta roll with it sometimes. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. See what happens.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate you doing this.
Oh man, hey, thanks for having me on, man. I enjoyed having you on the Run the Riot podcast, and I appreciate you having me on, man. Always interested to to talk with other runners and guys who are coaching and doing the thing, man. And good luck on your race, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm probably going to be bugging you and like the other few people that I know for some advice as I get closer and realize all the things I don't know.
Anytime, brother. Anytime, man.
Well, thanks so much, man. And if you're not listening to David's podcast, you should. It's Run the Riot, and it's a gem. I listen to it weekly, so go check it out.
Appreciate it, man. Thanks.
And we're out. Thank you for listening to the show. To be clear, I'm not a doctor nor a registered dietitian, and nothing you heard was medical advice. You should always speak with a qualified medical professional before making any changes to your training regimen. If you enjoy the podcast or found it useful, please take a couple seconds to give it a rating or share it with a friend. Every little bit helps. And if you want more of this information, please head to the Trail and Ultra Running Nutrition group on Facebook. You'll be in good company with other like-minded people who like to do hard stuff outside.